Well, my name is Sarah, and I am married to Cody, and I have 3 children, Alexis, Cohen, and Layton. I grew up in a Christian home. I always considered myself a Christian. A lot of the way I grew up had more to do with how many times your butt was in the pew rather than a personal relationship. I tried to do a lot of things on my own in my life. My parents were disabled and very emotionally unattached. I grew up pretty quickly. I could take care of things that lots of other kids my age couldn't. And so I often took on big responsibilities with very little experience to back it up. That also led to some poor choices. At the age of 16, I became pregnant when I was a senior in high school. And the reality kind of hit me that even though I thought I was somewhat an adult before, I really had to be now. Worked my way through college as a single mom, worked very hard, took care of her, felt I was doing a really good job, yet I still found myself having such a void, and I didn't even really know in what area. I couldn't even pinpoint an area, but it felt like treading water and just never really being above water, just barely getting a breath here and there. And I started to just develop this complex of I am all I needed, and I can do it on my own and not have to reach out to anyone. And through that, I definitely kind of left God aside and kept looking forward to what I thought was a better life. And so again, some of those things drive you to reach out and find answers in all the wrong places. Thought, well, my only way to solve this then is to get married, because that's what God wants. God wants us to be married, and that's his plan. And I kind of just thought that was it. And if I did that, then everything else would just be fine. So I got married and quickly found myself in a very abusive, volatile relationship. Things got pretty bad until I found myself at one point sitting on my kitchen floor and just feeling confused and scared and not really understanding most of what had happened in the last 6-7 years of my life. And at that point I felt so desperate that I just cried out to God. And strangely enough, even though I expected to feel a great sense of disappointment from God, I felt an even bigger sense of grace. God said to me, "Sarah, I never left you. I was here all along. I never left you. You turned from me, but I never left you." And just feeling this peace that God would accept me no matter who I was or what had happened in the past. And it wasn't until I really accepted that and owned that I could say that my eyes kind of opened to God's plan for me. I realized that my plan was not working out so well, and that his plan had to be better than anything that I was going through. And that in and of itself was enough to be life-changing. Once I had decided that, I really focused on my relationship with God and listening to what he had to say and listening to his direction for me. I was able to leave my marriage. Of course, then when I least expected it, he brought me a wonderful husband, just like he promises he will do for us. And Cody and I got married, and we had a son. And we have this blended, complicated, confusing family to most, but to God, we're just his family. I just feel that God has said, I can use you, even though you were broken and you were ashamed and you felt that you were at your complete rock bottom. I have the power to build you up. I have the power to lift you up and to use you. And so that's kind of been my prayer since then, is that God will use me in whatever way it may be. And sometimes it surprises me, some of the ways he wants to use me, but I just always try to remember that I want my life to be proof of his love, not proof of what can happen if you make poor choices. I want my life to be proof of his love and his grace for us, and what he is able to do in even the most impossible seeming situations.